Joining me now, Communications Director now of the White House, Acting Communications Director, Mercedes Schlapp with us. Mercedes, great to have you with us.
Thank you for having me on.
Mercedes, I know we're tight on time. I want to get right to the president's budget yesterday. Headlines in it, top lines about the president's budget. What do you think are the main aspects of it?
You know, obviously for the president, this is about pushing forward a fiscally responsible and pro-American budget. It's very clear that our goal is, and as we know our acting OMB director mentioned, that this is a budget of promises kept and taxpayers first, meaning that we're going to hone in on the president's priorities, which is increase funding for the military, as well as to ensure that we secure our borders, which continues to be a top priority to this president. And then we want to make sure that all Americans can benefit from the nation's historic economic boom and record unemployment. So that is our goal. Now, remember, the budget helps set the priorities for our agencies to know what they need to focus on. And as what we are focused on clearly is ensuring that we have a strong military, that we also ensure that we deal with this emergency that's happening on the border, and then and really hone in on that as being the top topics that we're looking at in terms of the budget.
So the budget is dead on arrival, really. Everybody knows that. Obama's budget, same thing. George Bush's budget, all the way back to Jimmy Carter and Eisenhower. They land in Congress, they get put in a wastebasket. Why the effort being put on this budget? You know that, what happens to it. It's Congress throws it away and that never gets to first base out of committee. So why is the White House putting such an effort into the Trump budget?
Well, every president submits a budget, and what it helps is that it helps us, again, to prioritize. And in terms of President Trump's budget, it's about defending our nation, it's about ending the opioid epidemic, and building a strong American workforce. So those are key components. Another piece of this is obviously investment in child care and development programs, which, again, would help the working families. So it is about ensuring that we look at these different components that are important for the president, for his administration, so that our agencies can prioritize on what they should be focused on. And the other thing, obviously, is responsible budgeting. I mean, we want to make sure that it is about cutting waste and cutting fraud. One of the things the Democrats do very well is that they excessively spend money. That's their goal so much in just funding the government all the time. And so in our case, we're looking at these programs. We're looking to see if if they're duplicative programs, as well as if there's waste or fraud, and helping to cut those programs that are unnecessary in government. And that's another big priority for this budget in and of itself. And again, it helps us to stay focused on what we need to do for the upcoming year.
So this is really your blueprint going forward, your prioritization, if you will, your list of objectives. The budget submitted by the president to Congress runs a deficit of just under $1 trillion. So the question is, at what point in time does the deficit start to go down?
Well, I think when you look at the way we're dealing with this particular budget is that it reduces the non-defense programmatic spending by 5% below the 2019 cap level. And so what we're doing is, again, we're shrinking and eliminating these federal programs. And so it takes us almost to putting our federal budget on a path to balance within 15 years. So again, our focus being on funding our national security needs, on funding our border, which is important for border security and immigration enforcement activities. And also, on the other side of this, as we talked about in helping working families, is that of ensuring, for example, that we have school choice tax credits, something that we know would be so beneficial to so many students that are in failing schools, that the parents have the authority and to basically move their children out of failing schools and into the schools that the parents want to choose that are best for their children. I mean, this is, again, being creative in terms of helping our children in terms of education, as well as focusing on the border security component, which, as we know, is right now now at a breaking point in terms of ICE agents, in terms of our Border Patrol agents that feel that they need these resources in order to do their jobs both at the border and in the interior of the country.
You're on the John Fredericks Radio Network. We're with Mercedes Schlapp. She's the acting communications director in the White House for President Trump. Mercedes, we've only got a couple more minutes. A tremendous increase in unaccompanied alien children coming into the United States, up 54%. No end in sight. More caravans coming in. We are also now finding out that in fiscal year 2019 alone, just in the first quarter, 17,200 removal orders issued in absentia. These are orders to come back and show up for your paperwork. You don't come back, you've just disappeared into the interior of the United States. Why is there not general outrage with this?
Well, the president is outraged by what we have seen in terms of this broken immigration system. Secretary Nielsen last week in the hearing emphasized that we need significant changes in our immigration laws. There is no question that the smugglers, the drug cartels, the coyotes, the human traffickers, they are abusing our broken immigration system. They are the ones that are moving these commodities, these people illegally through the border, the drugs coming illegally through the border. And so what we realize is that for the Democrats, they have little incentive to make any significant changes to our immigration law. And so what you're seeing is that these unaccompanied minors, they know this. They know that they can come into the United States because they are treated differently under our immigration laws. Our border agents do not have the authority to detain and remove these unaccompanied minors, these family units. Mm-hmm. They are treated differently than, let's say, the Mexicans, where if they come in illegally through the border, then our Border Patrol agents have the authority to detain and remove them, send them back to their country. And so there is this discrepancy in the immigration law that is antiquated, that needs to be changed in order for us to gain control of what's happening in the southern border. And so the drug cartels are part of organizing these caravans. They infiltrate these caravans, as do criminals. And so this is what they're bringing into our country and into our communities. And it is why it's why the president has been so vocal on this issue, but why the Democrats continue to push an radical open borders agenda that hurts Americans and hurts our communities.
Mercedes, we got to go. Final question. Why are the Democrats obsessed with protecting people that come over the border illegally? It's just, what is driving this obsession?
You know, that's such a telling question. I think, there's always these arguments, is it a demographic situation that they want to change America, or is it, they talk about it from these people are vulnerable, they should be allowed into our country. But it just leads to chaos. It leads to chaos for our communities. It leads to chaos in the fact that you're allowing criminals to come into our country. I mean, I've spent some time with our angel moms and dads who have lost loved ones to illegal aliens who have committed crimes and killed family members. And you listen to these stories, and you can't help but wonder why the Democrats continually ignore them. I mean, they went to Speaker Pelosi's office. They could not get a meeting with Speaker Pelosi or with Senator Schumer. I mean, these are family members who basically say this crime could have been prevented because it is an illegal alien who should have never been in our country. And I think of one mom, this beautiful woman who literally has 2 kids, her husband, a former FBI agent, literally gets ran over by an illegal alien. The guy was thrown into jail and then was released, and then has committed several crimes and is still roaming through the streets of Maryland. And you have to ask yourself, why do we want this scumbag in our country? Mm-hmm. It's like they have to. There's no reason whatsoever that this person should be in our country. These criminals who are basically committing these acts of violence against Americans, they should have never been here in the first place. They should be deported. And the mere fact is the Democrats have no incentive to stop this sort of behavior. That's it. You hit it. They have no incentive. Actually, they have an incentive to do the opposite, which is to keep them coming in so they can transform
the votes in America and gain more power. That's why, for instance, if you go to a gun show, they want to take your rights away to buy a gun if you're a legal American citizen. But if you're here illegally and you buy a gun, they don't want that reported to ICE. How the hell does that make any sense?
Yeah, it just doesn't. And I think the numbers speak for themselves in terms of, over 200,000 illegal aliens that have been apprehended at the border. You have, close to 300% increase in terms of family units coming through the border. It's never ending. And so, you can fill up a group of these individuals coming in illegally in a stadium. I mean, and this is fundamentally changing our country. It is fun. Look, I'm a child of immigrants. My parents came here legally. They love America, but there is a way and a process that needs to be applied, and it should apply to everyone who wants to come into the United States, instead of us just continually not having the authority to detain and remove individuals who are coming from Central America.
We're out of time. I want to thank you for your time with us today. Mercedes Schlapp, live at the White House. She is the acting communications director for the Trump administration. Thank you, Mercedes, for being with us.
Thank you so much.